Hello everyone! It is snowing in our cities and the streets are decorated with light. The Starlight Celebration is here once again. And with it comes the time to head to Gridania to find Garanji and figure out what adventures we will experience this year. If you're wondering why do we celebrate this festival, I do have a video on it which you can find either in the iCard or down in the description. But here we will explore this year's adventure. Like every year, we meet with in the amphitheater, who is happy to see us yet again. Like always, she is managing all the little helpers, but she has a special task for us in mind. It relates to a Viera named Associate Professor Lorenzen from the Sharlayan studio, who is here on research. And she is hoping we can be of assistance. Lorenzen greets us and explains he is part of the Faculty of Folklore. And before we can become his assistant, or maybe just to explain what he's doing, he starts off by testing our knowledge, asking what creature symbolizes the Starlight Celebration. Now, the correct answer is reindeer, but I cannot stop myself from choosing Yeti after our exciting adventure last year with a tiny little Yeti. Lorenzen does not agree, not with our idea or our pronunciation. No, the correct creature is the reindeer, and these noble creatures can be seen on a variety of Starlight paraphernalia. Then he asks if we know when the reindeer became the symbol of the Starlight Celebration. And even is a little bit confused. This is a very good question, as there are no reindeers mentioned in the origin story of the festival. There were some knights, some orphans, and even dragons mentioned indirectly, but definitely no reindeers. Lorenzen explains that he had pondered this as well, so he scoured the literature till he finally discovered a telling testimony in an ancient Iscardian tome. It spoke about reindeers amusing children with illusion magic. It was this magical act that cemented the reindeer as one of the Starlight Celebration symbol. Or so he believes at least. He is in fact in Gridania to prove his theory that this story is true. And to do so, he brought with his own reindeer named Blitzen. This reindeer is of a rare lineage which uses illusion magic to defend against predators, making it most likely that this is the same type as from the original tale. And Lorenzen believes Blitzen traces his lineage back to those selfsame reindeers as from the story. So he has brought him to Gridania to have him perform his magic for the children of Eorzea. And with this, confirming history by recreating it. Now, Lorenzen didn't originally plan to go to this length. He was quite content to stay in Labyrinthos and do his experiments in Sharlayan. But he tried to get Blitzen to show his child-pleasing illusions, and Blitzen simply refused to do so. So he's hoping with bringing him to Eorzea, and in front of some children, he will be suitably inspired to show off the magic. But so far, that hasn't worked. No illusions have been made, and Lorenzen is now in need of an assistant. So our task is simple, but also quite crucial. We are to go around the city and round up some children, and bring them to Blitzen so he will create his magic. And so we are off while Lorenzen and Blitzen had to set up. Sadly, gathering up children seems to be a little bit more challenging than expected. The first child we approach seems interested, but has already made the promise to help his mother decorate. The second child apparently was instructed to buy cake and then head straight back home. Yeah, this isn't going so well. Thankfully, the third child is at least receptive to the idea and does rush over to see this magical reindeer. And as I'm technically small enough to pose as a child, I should do the same, and hopefully a child and a Lalafell will work out well enough. Now Lorenzen is disappointed that we only managed to gather up a single child, as he does not seem to recognize me as a good child substitute. The amount of children should not really matter, so they should work for the experiment. So he then turns to Blitzen and orders the reindeer to show his illusions. I'm not sure commanding the reindeer to perform magic is helping. Especially based on the fact that Blitzen doesn't do a single thing and kind of just stares at the child. Which honestly looks kind of sad. Lorenzen insists again, but it's no use. And soon the child loses interest and heads off, not caring that Lorenzen calls for them to stay and assist in the scientific discovery. Frustrated, Lorenzen heads off with Blitzen to go calm down a bit and clear his mind. While from a distance, a decidedly pantless fella seems to be watching us. We dutifully wait for Lorenzen to come back, but he doesn't. So we head out to find him, and when we do, he seems to be pondering if perhaps he needs to head to Isgard. Credania might simply not have the right type of children. After all, in the story it was Isgardian children the magic was shown to. And maybe the children of Credania are simply lacking. And while he ruminates, he also has completely failed to notice that Blitzen has wandered off, and he is now without a reindeer. So we give him a nudge and point out that maybe he should also consider what Blitzen wants. Maybe he's not that keen on performing on command. Lorenzen does not really listen to us, but does notice that Blitzen is missing right now, and that is going to be a big problem. So what follows is us running around the city trying to find a missing reindeer. Thankfully we are in luck and find him near the Aetheryte Plaza, seeming to be grazing on some leaves. As Lorenzen arrives, he starts by trying to scold Blitzen, who loudly brays back, stopping the young man in his track. But his braying was not directed at Lorenzen, but to summon no other but the Saint of Nymea himself, who I would appreciate if he would put on some pants. My good sir, I am very short. I can see your underwear from this angle. Put on some pants, Godbert. Yeah. Anyway, the Saint of Nymea is here to help guide us on the right path. He asks Lorenzen if he realizes why he has never gotten Blitzen to show off his delightful illusions. And Lorenzen doesn't know. But we do. It is simply, in this whole focus on proving a theory, he has lost the sight of the spirit of the Starlight Celebration. This is a celebration for the children of the realm. A time to bring joy and comfort to them, just like the Isgardian Knights did so long ago. And this is something Blitzen knows as well. Lorenzen is mortified when he realizes basic folklore's fieldwork is respecting and seeking to understand the customs being researched, and he has failed to do so. But that does not mean he can't make it right, and Blitzen is eager to help him. As the saint leaves us behind, and Lorenzen is re-evaluating his plan, we hear a child crying out in the distance. Lorenzen quickly hurries to the source, concerned about a child sounding so clearly in distress. And what we find is a young girl who has lost her mother. Lorenzen wants to question her about what happened, but she is far too upset right now. So he ponders how we might calm her, be it with sweets or toys. But thankfully, Blitzen steps up and finally performs the magic we have all waited for. The girl is stunned by the sudden display, and for a moment forgetting her fear, allowing us to ask her what happened. The little lady tells us she has been heading to the market with her mother, but they got separated and now she can't find her and is very afraid. Lorenzen figures the mother can't have gone too far and is probably looking for the girl somewhere around here, so he decides to shout at the top of his lungs for the mother. And Blitzen helps with a noise. Thankfully, the mother does hear them and comes running over so the two can be reunited. And as the girl walks away with her mother, we pointed out to Lorenzen that his theory had indeed been correct. For a moment he's confused before realizing it's true. He had been so concerned for the child's well-being that he hadn't realized that with Blitzen performing this delightful illusion, it had also reenacted the fable. And with that, his theory is proven. So with these great news, we finally report back to Amgaranji. He is pleased to hear of our success, and it is decided that for the rest of the festivities, Lorenzen and Blitzen will share their illusion with as many children as they can. And we are asked to assist. Having finished the quest, we actually do have the option of assisting Lorenzen and Blitzen. There is no quest there, but if we go talk to them, we will get to see somewhere between 3 or 5 different cinematics, depending on where you are in the story. But before we look at that, let's look at our reward. For our assistant, we are rewarded with our very own reindeer mount. Well, technically, it is not a real reindeer, but a magical one gifted by Blitzen. As the description reads, the reindeer Blitzen visited from Sharlayan gifted you this writable glamour as a show of gratitude for your kind aid. From the creature itself to the presents, all is recreated in such impressive detail that it could only be considered a Starlight miracle. This pretty mount even has an interaction, allowing you to summon up the very same illusion as Blitzen did for the children. Along with the mount, there is also a Starlight vendor in town selling a new housing item. This time is a garden decoration. These light decorated trees look quite pretty and fitting for the season. I bought plenty for myself and my FC to use in the future. And now finally, let's talk about the cinematic we can have when speaking with Lorenzen. There seem to be 3 that come with the base game. I believe 1 comes with Heavensward and 1 with Endwalker. I will do them in order and warn you in case you want to avoid any spoilers. So first we go with the Realm Reborn ones that don't really spoil anything. As we visit the market with Blitzen, we will encounter Mother Mion as a little helper. She is the Adventuring Guild attendant here in Gridania at the Caroline Canopy and greets all brand new players who start in the city, including me, as I made my start making this encounter quite special. She gives a child with some cookies before explaining that this year the Caroline Canopy is taking part in the celebration, including a special children's menu. I think that is actually quite sweet. If we visit the Leatherworkers Guild, we will meet Geva, head of the Leatherworking Guild. As a little helper, she is handing out some leather accessories, who seem to delight the little girls she gives them to. I think this encounter is actually quite exciting, as we learn that Geva is in fact a mother. As he mentioned, she volunteered this year as her own little ones take such delight in the season. I think this is a sweet little detail, and I hope one day we get to see the little ones in person. At the Great Loam Growery, we get a wonderful encounter with the leader of the Woodworking Guild and the Herbalist Guild, a rather fitting pair to be working together as little helpers. The Herbalists have gathered the finest wood, which the Woodworking Guild has turned into lovely blocks. Though Beaton, of course, does not explain it like that. Instead, he gives the boy pieces of wood and describes how fine they are, explaining it's a lumber set. Thankfully for all, Fufucha is quick to explain that it is a set of building blocks, which delight the boy greatly. As the child leaves, Beaton is very perplexed. He doesn't quite understand why the boy would be so excited about blocks but not about a lumber set. Still, he did know the child's joy, so he decided we should use this building block just again with the next child. And these are our 3 Realm Reborn encounters. Our next encounter has spoilers from Heavensward, so if you haven't gotten there, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. But now for the Heavensward encounter. Spoilers will start in 3, 2, 1. As we go to the Whistling Miller, we meet no other than Emric, who is handing out Isgardian coats as a little helper. It is delightful to see such an important person take part in the festivities. He explains that originally he came to the city for an audience with the elders each year. He had felt compelled to volunteer for the festivities. After all, he comes from Isgard, the birthplace of this festival. So he ended up as a little helper handing out some lovely coats. Now, depending on how long you've actually played the game, and how many Starlight Celebration events you've taken part in, he might actually have extra dialogue. Sadly for me, he does not, as this is only my second year. And our final encounter has some Endwalker spoilers, so please keep that in mind. And spoilers will start in 3, 2, 1. Going to Apkalu Falls, they meet 2 people as little helpers. First is Elaine, who brings the little girl a lovely doll. But amusingly, Elaine is not alone, as Sigurd also joins us to gift the girl a set of miniature silverware. And just like a trip to the cold plains of Garlemald and generally wherever these guys happen to be at the same time, they are at one another's throat. To my great delight, and to the great boon for the girl, who happily heads off to play dolls with their new doll and new cutlery. Both claim to have the superior presence, though I think it's the combination of the two that makes them so perfect. And these two are actually my favorite interaction this season, as they are one of my favorite weird friendship rivalry that is developing in Endwalker. I simply cannot wait to see more of them. But with that was Starlight Celebration this year. A cute story, delightful encounters, a nice new housing item, and a mount. It was a lovely festival indeed. If you did enjoy the retelling of the story, please make sure to do all the good YouTube stuff and even check out one of my other videos. But whatever you end up doing, I hope you have a lovely day and a happy Starlight Celebration.